now available in paperback and ebook. The Man Who Rules the World. John Hayes must bring together men and gods to overcome a threat that seeks to destroy the planet. The Man Who Rules the World. Now available in paperback and e-readers everywhere. One of my family members was telling me about his struggles to find a decent black barber and a black-owned barbershop. And this is really sad to hear because I remember a time growing up as a kid where the black-owned barbershop was a community staple and black people took pride in going to another black person to get their haircut. In fact, black people pretty much made it a priority to go to the black-owned barbershop above all other barbershops at one time. And I remember the barbershop that my father used to take me to on 145th Street and Frederick Douglass Boulevard back in the early 1980s. And I also remember Jerry's Den on 167th Street around Grant Avenue here in the Bronx back in the day. That was where I went to get my haircut back when I was a teenager. And black-owned barbershops were considered a community staple at one time, and black people pretty much, that was the place where every black man went to get their haircut. But these days, when it comes down to barbershops, especially black-owned ones, they just are hard to find. When you go to the barbershops these days, they're pretty much now run by Dominicans. Dominicans pretty much dominate haircutting here in the South Bronx. And that's really sad to see because I remember, again, when there was a time when African Americans pretty much controlled black barbering and black haircutting in the black community. Now Hispanics pretty much control the cutting of hair in African American communities, and that's pretty much our fault. And the reason why I can say it's our fault is because I remember watching black barbershops like Jerry's Den decline due to the way the barbers pretty much did their business. Now, back in the late 1980s and early 1990s, we had the crack epidemic going on. And many black barbers pretty much would let people like drug dealers get to take their turn first over other black people. And that pretty much left a sour taste in many of the working class black men's mouths that these drug dealers who were destroying the community were getting preferential treatment in the hub of the black male community. In the barbershop, the drug dealer was preferred, and that pretty much left a sour taste in many black people's mouth. Moreover, many black barbers pretty much did not take their craft seriously, nor did they take their business very seriously. And because they did not take their business very seriously, many black barbershops would pretty much open up at erratic hours, and that pretty much, again, left a sour taste in many working class black men's mouths. Because around here, back in the late 80s, early 90s, with the Jerry's Den that I used to go to, sometimes it would open up at 11 o'clock, some days it would open up at 12 o'clock, some days it would open up as far as 1 or 2 o'clock. And that pretty much, again, left a very sour taste in the mouths of working class black men. Because when you're a working class black man, you don't have much time to pretty much go out here and get a haircut or wait to get a haircut. You pretty much want to be able to go to this barbershop and get your haircut as soon as possible. Unfortunately, barbershops in the black community pretty much put their schedule ahead of the needs of their customers. And because they put their needs ahead of their customers, they lost a key audience and their core audience of black men. And it was black men who were pretty much helping the black barbershop stay in business, but because they pretty much could not stay consistent in their business, such as opening up at a consistent and regular time, making sure that the customer was pretty much serviced in a professional way by making sure that people who came in were able to get their haircut as soon as possible, and they supported people like drug dealers who were terrorizing the community, people stopped supporting the black-owned barbershop. In contrast, when it came down to the Puerto Rican, Dominican, and Hispanic barbershops, these guys were pretty much running a completely different business. And in fact, I've seen that when I was here in the Bronx, because in many cases, I was forced to go to the Dominican barber because the black barber was just not open. Now, the Dominican barbers, in contrast, what they would do is they would open up at early in the morning. I mean, these guys would open up 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. And because they opened up 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, they have already cut 2, 3 heads and made about $12, $13 ahead of the black-owned barbershop, which is just opening at maybe 11, 12, or 2 o'clock, whenever the black man gets there. And this guy has already cut 3, 4 heads, and he's pretty much made at least about $60, $70. And because he is open at 8:30, 9 o'clock, or 10 o'clock, he's making money that the black barber wasn't making. And this is something that they just didn't understand about the Dominican barber. The Dominican barber made sure they were on time, they made sure they were there, and that reliability pretty much added to the reputation of their business. And that reputation pretty much made them start to become more and more of a community staple, while the black-owned barbers pretty much struggled to stay in business. And they didn't look at their approach to business being the thing that was one of the things killing them, not to mention the poor customer service and preferring dope dealers and criminals over working class black men, and then sometimes just giving people really terrible haircuts. And that pretty much turned away a lot of the black people in the community and led to them trying to find alternatives where they could get a quality haircut. And this is the big problem that happened with black barbers. This is why the black barbering business became the Hispanic barbering business, because black people didn't take it seriously. Moreover, they didn't take the craft of barbering seriously, because barbering is a trade. It's a skilled trade, and it can be a very profitable trade if you take that trade very seriously. If you take haircutting very seriously, you can make a lot of money doing haircuts. But a lot of black people don't take the trade very seriously, and they pretty much don't see it as something important. I believe that has to do with so many black men being raised in these single mother households, because in the single mother household, a lot of boys don't learn that work is a priority. Your work pretty much reflects you. And when you're in a skilled trade, you have to make sure that your work is top quality. Because when you hear a lot of black barbers talk about their trade, they don't talk about it with the passion and the heart the way other barbers talk about their skill and their trade. They sit there and they'll say, you know, they just this is just something that they do. Whereas a skilled tradesman, this is his craft, this is his life, and he wants to make sure it's the best it can be. Because I remember back in the day when my dad used to take me to the barber shop, that you would hear barbers talking about how they wanted to get their own shop and how they wanted to have their own business outside of this business. It wasn't about renting the chair. It was about getting the experience working at this shop to get to the point where you had your own shop. But these days, when it comes down to barbers, because so many were raised in single mother households, they put watching soaps and playing video games above going out here and cutting hair. And that's pretty much led to this drought of black barbers in the black community. Because my family member, he's pretty much have been having a hard time going out here trying to find a place to spend his black dollars with a black barber, because he makes it a priority to try to find black barbers. And one of the big problems he has is that once he finds a place where he can go get his hair cut, that place pretty much, it goes out of business due to the reasons I pretty much stated earlier in the video, in that they don't have consistent hours. The barbers don't stay there too long because they don't take their craft seriously, and nobody's reliable. Because when you have a place like business like a barber, people need to see you there, and they need to be able to count on you. And the whole thing is that what a lot of black barbers don't understand is, if you're not on the floor, the money is walking out the door. Because if you're not there to make the money, somebody else is going to make the money. And these days, it's Dominicans making black dollars, it's Puerto Ricans making black dollars, and they're all making black dollars because black people don't take the craft of black barbering seriously. And that, again, is really sad when I think about it, because, again, as a kid, I remember growing up and my father taking me to the black barber shop on 145th Street and Frederick Douglass Boulevard. I remember going to the Jerry's Den on Grant Avenue and 167th Street. And I remember those times, and took a lot of pride in taking my money to another black man, and that was part of my growing up process. These days, a lot of black boys are not getting that because black barbers aren't taking their craft seriously, they're not taking their business seriously, and because they're not doing that, black dollars are going out of the black community, and the craft of black haircutting is going into the hands of Hispanics, and they're pretty much dominating in an industry that we should have been able to maintain control over and still have control over, because if you can't cut your own hair, that really says something really sad as it relates to the black community and black economics. If you like what you're seeing on this channel and you want to help me make more videos, then you can please go to my Patreon and donate $1 or more by clicking the link in the description box. And if you really want to help me sell more of my SJS Direct titles, you may do so by clicking the link to my Amazon.com and looking at all my books by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.